And it's live. Hi, everyone. This is the second Nodebots International Nodebots Day organizer meeting. We are winning on the title, the longest title ever. So, hooray. That's an achievement. This year is the 2015 edition. If you're watching this in the future, hopefully we fixed all the problems and now you just get to screw around and make Nodebots all day. So, hooray. So this is mainly just going to be a recap of the other discussion. If you've already seen it, you can just go do something else, other more exciting things than that. Since there's people who have not weren't on that one. Hey, Katie, how's it going?
Hey.
So if there's things that are new, might be worthwhile watching both. So the general workflow that we did with the previous one and we'll do with this one is go through discussion, because we have about 50% this year people who have not done a Nodebots Day and 50% people who have done a Nodebots Day. So we have a very mixed audience of people involved with and have done an event and those who have not. So I figured the best way to do it is to level set and start all over, and then everyone who has done an event before, please speak up, add in opinion. This is not me dictating how this is going to go. Thought being that this will be sort of a loose autonomy. Everybody does their own thing, drives their own event, adds their own color, their own flavor to the event, and it has the uniformness of hopefully making robots accessible by way of JavaScript, hopefully not having any Windows machines thrown out the window, and most importantly, happy times and everyone leaves with all their fingers connected.
Yay!
Go
Go all the way up.
All the way up. So the best way to start this is ask. I do this all the time. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? We've said nothing important at this point. Does anyone have any questions? Speak up if you do.
So I got a question in general. So for those of us who have not actually done one of these before, and if we haven't actually planned anything yet, is it too late?
No, that's a great question. No, it's not too late, and the whole point of this is to sort of help you get that kicked off and get that running forward. You're not alone, so hooray. Don't be afraid. That's another piece. So that there's enough time between now. There's roughly a whole month between now and then. I don't even start planning JSConf this early. So, that's the thing. It'll be a little bit of a struggle, but there's not much to do up front. Most of this day is mainly focused on the day of organization. So there's just a couple decisions that we'll go through about how and what needs to take place and how you're going to do that we'll go through today and should make it very easy for you to go with. Any other questions? Cool. All right. So the first thing, we'll start off with the point of what do I do? So I signed up to do this crazy thing called International Nodebots Day. I'm going to go from the perspective of people who have not done this, just to give information. If you have done this and this is boring for you, sorry, but you probably already have your own vibe, you have your own groove, and this is just informational, and you can just cut off right now. So the main thing you need to do, there's two things that you have to do quickly, like quickly being the next week or so, one of which is to do, I suggest a sign-up page. You don't have to do a sign-up page, it's not required to do a sign-up page, but I strongly suggest doing a sign-up page. What this will allow you to do is it'll allow you to gather information about the people who are going to be attending the event. Email count, just rough number, orders of magnitude. Gives you a good sense as to whether or not this Nodebots Day is going to be just you building Nodebots, or maybe you and a couple people, or you and 1,000 people. Not that we've ever had a group go up to 1,000, but I would hate for anyone to be planning on it just being like, oh, I'm just going to show up and oh crap, there's 1,000 people. That's our goal, to avoid any sort of insanity. When you do the sort of, what am I thinking of, sign-up page, one of the things I definitely suggest putting in there is a item, does your company have any interest in supporting the event? What that'll allow you to do is allow you to contact individuals who have checked that box and say, hey, we have sponsorships, we're looking for a couple bucks to buy food possibly, to buy kits, to do something, we'd love to have you be a part of the event. Can we talk? And so what that might do is get you sponsorships, which is a great way to do sponsorships. You know that their people are coming. Their people are probably talking about it at their own offices, so they are interested, whether it could just be a hobby interest, passing interest, or just want to blow up capacitors. Who cares? They've checked the box that said their company might be interested, and then you can go talk to them about sponsorships. If you don't put that box there, you're gonna it's gonna be a little bit of an awkward dance, as it were, to go and ask them. So I strongly suggest put that checkbox there. You're basically letting them self-select that, hey, my company might be interested. It's a good idea and a good thing. There's always the question about, so Chris, I did a registration. One, how do I do this? If you've never done an event before, there's a website out there, TITO, Tito as the name of it, that I use. I'm a huge fan of it. Not necessarily something that you have to use. You can use another one, Eventbrite's another one. There's 100 different event pages. You could also just use a Google form, just something that allows you to gather a name. You may want to find age, but it's not required. Email address is probably a good one, and then whether or not their company might be of interest to sponsor the event. That gives you a rough list. The next question that gets asked is should I charge? I personally believe you should charge. Here's why. You should charge something. It could be $1. It could be a penny. I don't care what it is, but humans by nature, if they are not feeling like they have put something into it, just won't show up. It's a sad state of human affairs, but it's the reality. So if you charge $1, you're going to have about a 90% attendance rate. If you charge nothing, you're going to have a 90% attrition rate. That's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles. If you charge $1 and you give the dollar back at the door, hey, it's free anyways. So, but at least you'll get people who, for $1, feel like they are indebted and they have to go. So that's a decision you can make. You don't have to do that. You can charge $100 if you want to. That's a personal decision that you will make about your event. Personal if it's just you, group decision if it's you and a couple of other organizers. Why would I charge money? Let's ask that question. There are a couple things that you will probably, as the organizer of this, need to be ready for. You need to make a decision about your event pretty much up front. Is it a BYOD, bring your own device event, BYOHW, bring your own hardware event, and or BYOFB, bring your own food and beverage? Those questions are key. If you're doing a bring your own device event, then you're probably going to want to set out, like, here's what to have. And so what we recommend, no, hold on. I just cleaned up my office, so I'm not trying to reach over. There's a couple options. So if you do a BYOD, bring your own device, or you don't, you want an option even with the BYOD is to say, if you don't have any devices, or you don't have any hardware, we'll buy the kit for you. It'll show up there, and you're not gonna, unless you get a great sponsor who pays for the kit. I strongly suggest you paying out of pocket to buy kits for everybody. If you're independently wealthy, call me. I'd like to have a little bit of that, but also then go ahead and do it, and let me know how that went. Being independently wealthy isn't a thing that I'm going to assume that most people are. If you are, then ignore this next piece. But you're going to want to charge appropriate for the kit that you get. Now, the two kits that we sort of recommend is the Seed Studio kit, SEEED Studio. It's a Node-ARDX. Well, it's just the ARDX kit is what it's there as. That gives you all the basic parts. It's not a beautiful box. It's not great packaging, but it's $60 and it's the most cost-effective solution if you're doing this event. Inside there, it follows along to the standard ARDX, which is great. It's packaged up nicely in a pretty box. It's good for that no one can get the stuff back into. So just the box is great when it shows up. You open it up, you take everything up. It'll never get back in that box no matter what you do. Just be prepared for that. I don't know how they magically put it all in, but that's the thing that they do. So the nice part about that is if they get that kit, it follows perfectly along with the node-ardx.org website, which is a website put together by one of our global community members. Why am I blanking? Anna Gerber. She put together this great thing where it parallels the ARDX kit, but instead of doing it in processing/C, it's all done in Node and Johnny 5. So the nice thing about the kit is if they get it, they can do that, and then they're off to the races, and you don't have to worry too much about them. The other option out there, if you're in the U.S., this is an option. Seed Studio is out of Shenzhen, so if you're in the U.S., you may have to deal with customs imports, possibly. Because of that, you're going to want to order them at least a week before the event for arrival at least 2 to 3 days before your event. Otherwise, you'll end up in a scenario where it doesn't appear until after the event, and while that's great, it doesn't help anyone build stuff on the day of. The other option here in the U.S. is your SparkFun Inventors Kit. This is sort of the original go-to before the Seed Studio ARDX kit came out. This comes with a box that has all sorts of like cool things in it, and it's like a real industrial grade type stuff falling out type thing. Great little box. It also gives you like the base plate that you can put the Arduino in, and gives you the breadboard. So it's $30 more, about 90. It's $90 to $100 depending upon how you order it. If you order it in groups of, I think it's above 5, you get a discount. Otherwise, it's $99. That one's great. It gives you everything you need. Everything's wonderful. Everything's in. It has its own little bucket. It's a go-to if you can afford it. If your group can't, then go with the Seed Studio. And if they can't, what I'd suggest is share. Do sort of partner team-ups. If you have a plethora of devices, I think everybody on this call probably has a plethora of devices that they've broken or blown up or just have hanging around, literally. And then they can, just let people borrow them. If you do that, I'd suggest just write people's names down, what they took. Otherwise, you will never see those things back. Unless you're perfectly cool with that, then hooray! I've had a lot of hardware walk away, not because it became sentient, but because humans are sentient. So that's a thing to bear in mind.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do it, one.
Are we going to have any kind of like discount coupons to actually purchase, like large quantities of the devices? Kits?
I am working on that. I was supposed to work on it this week. I didn't have time. I just finished out JSConf, and that's off my books now. So the next target is getting everyone.
I'm sad I couldn't go.
Oh, no one died, so it wasn't any different than any other year. The one year that someone dies, I'm gonna just call it ends. So there'll be another one, possibly. So big news. No. Okay, so let's see. Any other questions about the kits and all? One of the other things I did mention in the other one, these things. Because of their predecessors, the quadcopters, what used to be Nodecopter, were so outlandishly expensive, going at about $300 quadcopter. They were out of the reach for an International Nodebots Day. The ones up here you can buy at any Apple store, and it'll allow you to do Nodecopter at the International Nodebots Day. They run about $100. And they're all controlled by Node, so it is another option if somebody wants to go out and get that, or you want to play with the Nodecopter. It's a great, simple, easy to define, go-to Nodebot type thing.
Does anybody have ideas for keeping the battery on those guys running longer than like 3 minutes?
You should get 8 to 10 minutes out of it.
Okay.
If you're not getting about 8 to 10, they do have a bug. Some of them will short. Where did all my batteries go?
Yeah, I'm probably getting about 5 on mine.
Okay. Are you burning them all the way down and then charging them back up?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. The times we've dealt with that, if you're plugging it into the computer and charging it, it doesn't give it a great charge. Plug it directly into a wall wart, and it should charge better. Also, if you go on this is a fun trick, if you go on the Parrot forums and just say I have a battery problem, they'll ship you a whole new battery.
Okay.
It's like a very well-known problem. The batteries aren't exactly the greatest.
I just bought a new spare with a wall charger for it too.
That's another option.
The Chris, the one that you're displaying, is that the Spider? The one that comes with like the two wheels on the side? So.
Yep, that's the rolling spider. This one. The box looks like I just cleaned up. Oh, here.
Awesome. Okay.
So they're like any Apple Store, easily accessible by Amazon, pretty much anywhere across the globe, which is nice. They now work with Node using Noble. And
They're actually those like a Groupon thingy for them.
oh yeah,
As a matter of fact.
can you send me that link too?
Yeah.
That did not work. So they're another entrant, or the new entrant that's possible. With that, you can also do almost everything you do with a Nodebot, a standard Nodebot. You can connect it up to like a Xbox controller. You can connect it up to a Logitech F310, fly them around. Those are all actually sitting in the EG directory of the Node Rolling Spider library. So that's an option. So there's that. So you have kits. You have that one's $100. The red board one from SparkFun, SparkFun.com. The ARDX kit, which I think Adafruit sells, but not to take away from Adafruit as an option. Seed Studio is going to be a lot more cost-effective option, running between $60 $65 a kit. You got two options. You can put those links up on your local independent website, or you can wrap it up into a ticket price and then just procure it for everybody. If you procure for everybody, you can definitely get a discount on the volume size, which is a good thing. And then you have this one, which you can pick up at Apple stores around the world, as well as also Amazon or whatever your local variant of Amazon is. Go to parrot.com, and then they'll be there. These are a lot of fun. I've flown it with second graders, so second graders are able to fly these very well. So if you have a lot of kids, it's a great thing to just have and be like, if they get bored or if they get frustrated with this, which can happen, then you just throw them with this and they have a blast.
You have a document of the experiments that you ran the second graders through with the stuff, because we're doing kind of a kid-focused event, so we'd love to see that.
On which? On these or on these?
On everything, really. But whatever you have would be great.
I don't have a document specifically to that. I have what we've done as part of our Da Vinci program with these, getting kids to fly, but it's sort of your basics, teaching them to take off, land, and then building an obstacle course, and then having them figure out how to write the code to get through the obstacle course. If you go like all mini copters, it's great. If you're doing that plus this, as an organizer, it just becomes a mess to juggle. So what I'd say is offer this as a thing, offer that as a thing, or if you want to double down and just do obstacle courses, do that, or if you want to double down and do full organized things, do this. In terms of activities that I've seen at events, and I can only speak on anecdotal evidence, if anyone else wants to mention anything, the Sumo bots work very well, assuming that the young person is paired up with an adult, ideally their guardian. What I would strongly suggest against is having kids that are just dropped off and I'm going to the bar. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get in a situation where you're watching someone else's kids. This is not babysitting. It's happened. It will happen this year. I can guarantee it. It's happened to me, and the most polite thing to say is, I'm sorry, that's not this kind of event. You need to stay and work with your kid. So, but in terms of activities, the Sumo bots are very good. And we'll go over what a Sumo bot is in case anyone hasn't built a Sumo bot yet. So that's the big decision. Like, do you charge? Do you not charge? Do you package these up with it? That. If you go down the decision of not charging or charging the bare minimum and letting everyone else bring their own hardware, make sure you put links to the SparkFun, the Seed Studio, as recommendations of go out and go get these things. If you On that page also you should put a recommendation to install Node, because not everyone has Node installed. And I strongly suggest they install Node 010 or whatever they use as their Node version control manager. Have Node 10 available. The things you're doing will work probably with 12, will work with IO1, IO2. It's a thing. So I think it does work right now, but who knows the day of. It's rapid release cycle. So one of the things we've done right now is Node Serial Port is available in binary downloads for almost every platform that you'll experience. So you shouldn't have any problems day of. We'll deal with the day of in a bit. So you have a website or just an event page. You promote that. You're like, hey, we're doing this awesome thing. We, as the global organization team, everyone in Slack, will help promote everyone else's events. We're going to do a large push to get everyone to have their events sort of event page up before the end of the month. Push, energize, excite, get into everybody's local region and be excited about. That's that. The second biggest thing that you have to worry about. So that's one. The second biggest thing is to find a venue space. If you haven't yet found a venue space, now is the time you need to start looking very aggressively. Now, what does it need to be a venue space, or what do you need in a venue space? The first thing I would suggest is go find a hackerspace in your local area. Most of them are accommodating, especially when you tell them what you're doing, what Nodebots Day is. If they have any questions, you can send them my way. I've talked to more than enough to try to get them to do it. What they'll do normally is give you a space, possibly with tables and chairs, hopefully, sometimes with desks, and you use that space. It'll have Wi-Fi, it'll have power, it'll have everything you need, and it'll be pretty cool. Most people won't gain access to a makerspace just on their own unless they're aware of that, so that's an option. If that doesn't work, and you happen to have or know or are near young people, one of the other options is to leverage that connection of having, knowing, or being near young people and seeing if their school would allow you to operate in a school gym or something of that effect. The other option would be a corporation. So like in the space that we work in, we have this huge open space that we will probably offer up as part of ours. You don't need a lot of space. You just need enough for the number of people that you are getting, which, because you have the event list, you have a rough idea of how many people are coming. What you don't want to do, you want to avoid getting yourself into any sort of contract that requires you to pay money for the space. Please try to avoid that as much as possible. Our intent of this event is to not have anyone go into the whatever color is bad in the financial. I think it's the red. Yeah, go into the red for this event. We don't want anyone to lose money. That is not the intent. Just find a space, find somewhere good. You're going to need power. You're going to need tables. You're probably going to need chairs, and you're going to need internet. That's it. Ideally, they have water and toilets, but hey, you know, sacrifice toilets for Wi-Fi if need be. Who would have Wi-Fi but not toilets? Why did I even? Anyways, so we're gonna go where you're gonna find a venue. Find somewhere wherever you're doing it in your region. If you have any questions or pushback with that, go find a different venue because there's 1,000 other venues. At worst case, another ridiculous option is find a local coffee shop for somebody who is kind of cool, and then that you can walk up to and be like, hey, we want to run this event. Would you be cool with us doing that here? Most times, restaurants, coffee shops, bars, if you're catering to an adult-only audience, they are actually cool with you using their space during the day if you're going to bring people who might get hungry. Surprise, right? So that's another option. Don't outcast the restaurant audience, especially if you have connections. We did 1 year here in Nodebots at a local bar that was closed during the day, so we were able to take over the entire space, and they didn't have food, beverage, but we got to just use the space because they only used it in the evening, and it was just going to waste during the day. So, options. That's what's there. let's see, what are that's the only two things. And once you have those locked down, just sit back and enjoy. What we normally suggest, and by we, I guess it's just me, is do a couple of things. Go through a couple test cases on your off hours. Everybody probably has jobs and 8 billion other things going on at any given point. So I understand that there's not a lot of time. The goal is not to burden you with extra stuff. But it doesn't hurt you to boot this up, delete Node from your computer, start all over again. Hooray. Try to install serial port, and then try to make an LED blink. If you haven't made an LED blink before, it's okay. What we'll go through right now is sort of that. So the day of let's fast forward to the day of. The morning of, you probably want to show up between 60 minutes to 30 minutes before the event. It's a rough number. You don't I'm not going to be driving over to everybody's place and, why aren't you awake? But it's roughly what I do. I get there an hour before, 30 minutes to an hour before, make sure everything's ready, make sure that you can get into the building, make sure that all the supplies that you thought were there are there, and then go from there. If you had to order supplies, you should order them no later than about a week and a half before. You can let that slip to about a week before, but do not go any further than a week. Bad things will happen. If you're in the U.S., I don't have global knowledge, but if you're in the U.S., be aware that shipping right now through the Midwest can be a disaster. There's tornadoes, there's dogs and cats living together, Wrath of God stuff. I don't know. Try to evoke a little bit Ghostbusters, but just be aware. Your shipments may be delayed. They may get stuck. If you're doing it from Shenzhen, it may get stuck in customs. Allow at least 5 extra days in your orders. So that's the thing. Okay, day of. So you show up. Let's say everyone gets in. You probably want to do a kickoff around 9 o'clock local time. At that 9 o'clock local time kickoff, you want to invite everyone, welcome everyone. Hi, I'm whoever you are. Give a little bit about yourself. You are not required to, though I'm probably going to require everyone as a blanket to be underneath the code of conduct. We strongly suggest you make sure everyone is aware of the code of conduct for your event. You don't have to explicitly put it on your site, but it will be something that's sort of top-level downward type thing. So if you have any disagreements or arguments against that or questions about that, please come to me. I've been dealing with the code of conduct at a conference level since the code of conduct was actually first initiated. So I have enough knowledge about anything you can possibly deal with, truly anything you can deal with at this point. So I'm here as a resource for that. Mention the code of conduct, boil it down for everyone, just be respectful and understand that we all have differences and we want to embrace that, and the whole reason why we're here is to build robots, so stick to that. Hooray. If you need any help with how to describe that or how to encourage people to be awesome to each other, just let me know. I'm here to help. Then what I'd suggest is have everyone, I don't care if they're the most advanced person in the world, I don't care if it's Pavel, I don't care if it's Brian, I don't care if it's me in the room, I do not care. Have them all go through the very simple exercise of getting out an Arduino, getting out an LED, which is a light-emitting diode LED. That's the thing that glows. Have them all go through it. I don't care who they are. I don't care how special they think they are. No one should be too proud to blow up an LED. And then have them pull out the LED. I'd suggest plug it into ground and 13. If you're not aware of LEDs, I'll put it on my skin so that way it's easier. The longer is your positive. That you're going to put into pin 13, and the shorter is ground. You're going to put that into G and D. Positive is longer, and the negative is shorter. And then just put it into pin 13 and ground. This is the Nodebots 101 thing. Make everybody do the Nodebots 101, because what it's doing, you're going to have to go through and install Node, make sure everybody installs Node, and by doing this, you make sure everybody has Node on there. You make sure that they know how to plug a USB cable in. I can't tell you how many of these I've done where you go around, you're racking your brain, why is this not working? What is going on here? Why isn't Node working? No, Node's installed, serial port's installed. Okay, so that mountains climbed. Why is this not working? And then you look down and it's just not plugged in. So by doing the LED, you get everyone to a base level of everything's working for them. So they'll have it plugged in. And then you'll do, my suggestion would be do the blink code. Have everyone open up an editor, whatever their editor is, don't care. Do not get into any religious warfare between Vim and Emacs and Sublime. That place has no, that has no place at a Nodebots event. Let people use whatever they want. You might not be able to help them, but just let them type it for you. And then go through the exercise of getting them to initialize the board and then making the pin blink on, off, on, off, on, off. That way you know everyone's got it. Your problems with this are going to be, first and foremost, getting everyone to install Node. You're going to probably have between 1 to 10 people, depending upon the size of your event, that show up with a laptop that does not have Node. Just plan ahead for that. Just be ready for it. If you want, bring a USB stick with all of the different nodes and then just plug it in and go. You might run into somebody who just shows up with a Chromebook and is like, I want to do this. If that happens, jump in the Slack channel and hit me up immediately, and I'll help you out with that. You probably will have Windows people, probably more Windows people than Mac people or Linux people that will not have Node installed, and you'll have to go through that fun process, but more fun with the Node serial port. You'll also probably have at least one person, possibly max of one person, who shows up with some distro of Linux that nobody's ever heard of. We're just going to ignore that and go forward. The goal for the day, just so everyone's aware, Pavel, I've not yet spoken to you yet, and Katie, nor you. Actually, most of the people on this call possibly might get called by me. Unless you're actually organizing the local event, then I'm not going to pick you. But what I'm going to try to do is have resources available from people who have run Nodebots events at JSConf or have been drivers and instrumental and can field any of the crazy questions that we deal with. The thought being, and this is something I haven't seen in years past on the International Nodebots Day, is the local organizer, you, have a lot to deal with. The in-person elements, the human elements are gargantuan. They are insane. There is no way to describe it until you're in the moment, but there's a lot to do. You might not think that right now, but there will be a lot to do. Everything from like, where's the bathroom? I need water. Where do I plug in power? The circuit breaker popped. There's a fire. Any of these things are options. What we don't want you to have to worry about is, I need Node installed, or I need serial port installed. So what we're going to do is have a group of people who can help out with issues that are in that technical domain that we don't want you to handle. You're more than welcome and empowered to do it on your own, but we want to provide a resource that if you're just like, I'm out of ideas, or I can't figure out Windows, or I hate Windows, or whatever, you have someone to throw them up to in a sort of like hangout phase or Q&A phase that they can be there to just catch and run with whatever's needed and move forward. This should make your event a lot easier. That is the hope. At worst case, it's just going to be me on Slack all day handling, okay, so now you need to install this, now you need to install that. Okay, well, cool, go from there. So that's a cool thing. The rest of the day breaks out into sort of a free form. The entire event is a semi-autonomous, loose event. You do whatever you want to do. You're as a community, you just drive down and do activities throughout the day. For the most part, what that means, what that boils down to, is you let people build whatever they want to build. You can make it as structured or as unstructured as you want it to be. Most people will do a lightly structured or semi-structured event. At a minimum, start out with the blinky lights. Start out with the blinky lights. Start out with the blinky lights. At a maximum, you could have everyone build. Here, yeah. I knew I had the Seed Studio one. Here's the Seed Studio one. Here's the Seed Studio kit. It has a whole bunch of parts in it. This is pretty much everything you need. I think the only thing this doesn't come with is the actual Arduino. That is a correct statement. So you'd have to get an Arduino Uno for this, or whatever you want, Arduino. But this gives you all of the component parts, all of the servos, the motors, the breadboard, everything you need is in here.
Are there 2 servos in that?
I think it's just one micro servo and a DC motor.
Yep, one micro server. High sensitive mini servo.
So if you're doing Sumo bots, we have to do.
You'd have to get an extra one.
Yeah.
But if you do Sumo bots and you order, has anyone seen this?
That is a micro servo and not a full-size servo in there. So if, those are made for standard-sized servos, so you'd probably need 2 of them.
But don't these come with standard-sized servos?
They do. I mean, it's not a kit you can buy though yet, and I won't have time to do a bunch of them to ship out to places this year, unfortunately.
You don't have time to do that? Okay. So this doesn't exist. Forget that idea.
The run rovers that Rick used at JSConf though do come with the 2 motors. That's a good option.
So the runt rovers do. Hey, Pavel, the other option would be if, and correct me if I'm wrong, the data for these kits are right there.
Yep, the plans are there. The cutting kits and a guide on, either 3D printing or laser cutting things. The entire shopping list, and little tutorials. I believe Katie cut her own kits on a laser cutter somewhere.
And I've done it over.
My own kits from Pinocchio in December just to see, and it worked fine. The tricky thing was going to like 5 different places to buy all the parts. Oh, servos. Oh, get the screws from the hardware store. But
so if you want, you can build your own servo or Sumo bot kit that Pavel has nicely put together and open sourced for everybody. You can also call it PavelBot. I think he put that on there just for me because I could not call it Sumo bot kit. I kept calling it the PavelBot kit.
It was everybody, but yeah.
It was everybody? Okay. I know at a minimum I did that.
You probably started it though.
We'll put the link for the Runt Rover in there at Servo City. It's another option. One of the things to note about the Runt Rover, Katie, you ran the event at JSConf. Did adults, have a hard time putting the plastic pieces together?
a little bit, but then we busted out a little straight razor, like a box cutter, and sheared off the edge, and then it went in fine.
Okay.
It was a little tricky. The reason I'm not planning to run runt rovers is because of the soldering of the pin headers into the pieces. I just won't have time to do that many before an event.
So it's an option. You do have to do some leg work or solder work, I guess. I guess it's more of a fine motor skill, hand
You can
work.
do the PavelBots without soldering.
Correct. You just have to find someone to get a laser cutter, or you can 3D print these too, but it would take, I think it takes 3 days for it to fully print.
Oh, it's really slow.
Maybe,
There's a couple of places you can
3 hours.
cut online. It's cool.
So.
On the Runt Rovers, it's a little more expensive, but a higher end one, I think it's called the Junior. It's a 4-wheeled one. The leads from the motors, and that one actually had pins on them, so you could put those straight into a breadboard.
Oh,
So that one wouldn't require that.
I was going to say the thing to note about if you want to laser cut those SumoBot kits, at Pinocchio it's pretty expensive. It turns out to be about $20 or $30 per kit for the sheet of wood. But I usually use like a local fab shop, places that have like a big 2 megawatt laser. It'll just do them for probably about $4 or $5 per unit. It's a little bit harder to get set up with them, and they're kind of industrial, but it's definitely a good option if you need to do 30 kits or something. Or you could do it yourself at a hackerspace for free, possibly.
all of our hacker spaces are closing. It's sad.
Hey, I just shared a link in the chat that Rick put together a pretty good walkthrough putting that kit together.
Mm-hmm.
I know probably got a video too that's good for that.
So let's go from there. Let's assume that you built something to this effect, something to what's in the links over here, or the Runt Rovers. The next obvious question is what do you do? What we've normally, so the normal arc of a Nodebots Day event is introduction, learn, play and do, and then share. So what we normally would have at the closing, and this is the same as the Nodebots Day at JSConf, we encourage everybody to take about an hour before the end and do sort of the sharing aspect of it, and whether it's, hey, I did this really cool thing with the mini drone, I hooked it up and we flew it around and it was amazing. Try to encourage and really encourage everyone to talk about what they did. One of the things I've seen happen is people build in isolation, and then they just leave. And the sad thing about that is they don't feel connected to other people, and you lose that opportunity to say, that's a really cool thing, and then connect up other people who have some great things that are going on, and then build a community and extend that community even further. Part of the whole thing about this is to get more people excited about hardware and into the Nodebots or development community at large, but more importantly to build a better, more inclusive and inviting community. So please don't hedge on the opportunity to take 1 hour at the back and share, have everyone share. Sharing can be as simple as show and tell, which is sort of what I would term that. Science fair is another term you could use. To if you have a group and they're doing Sumo bots or they're doing Runt Rovers, competitions. Competitions are actually a fun thing. If you do a competition, try to make it fun as the organizer. Enjoy it as much as the attendees do. I know that for when we do RobotsConf and JSConf events, the Sumo bots will have somebody announce it and give it like a WWE style. And entering the ring, 2 bots enter, 1 bot leaves, maybe. And then everyone gets excited, and it really becomes an energetic sort of thing, and people watch it. And so to do that Sumo bot competition, you need very minimal sorts of things. You just need tape, and you tape an outline of a circle, and you put the 2 bots in, and done. The nice part about that is it's a cool thing. Everyone can gather around, everyone can watch. The downside of that is you need at least 2 people, but you can't actually support that many people. So you need 2 groups at a minimum, otherwise it's already won. 2 bots go in. Wait, we don't have 2 bots? Well, that bot won, hooray! Or you need 2, so you need 2, but you can't really go over about 20 total entrants. So if everybody's making Sumo bots, you have a bit of a problem, because you're going to want to find a winner, so you'll have to do, to get to 20, you'll have to do 10 competitions in the first round, and then I think it's 4 in the next round, and then someone gets a bye, and it just becomes a nightmare. They're fun, just make sure you understand that there's size levels that it works at and size levels that it doesn't. Another option, if a lot of people are doing Sumo, is Sumo Bot Soccer, which is to have everyone break into teams, 2 teams, 1 team on the left and 1 team on the right, and they have a field, and they attack each other on the field and try to move a ping pong ball into a goal. The nice part about this is it's less competition, more collaboration. The teams are working together, they're having to pass, they're having to help each other block and do all sorts of stuff. So it's not as like violent, as it were, as a Sumo bot competition. It's a little bit more collaborative and engaging. This doesn't work for less than, I'd say, 10. You need to have at least 5 on each side to make it interesting. You can do it with as low as 4, but depending upon the size of your field, it can just be like 5-year-old ice hockey, where they just sit and spin around. Not that there's anything wrong with 5-year-old ice hockey. I love it. It's a thing, though. So you got those 2 as options with Sumo bots. You have the science fair for people who want to go a different route. Wearables is a great thing to build through on this time frame. You have about 8 hours. You can do a lot of wearable things in like 1 or 2 hours, and then you build something else. So that really appeals to like the science fair. You're not going to necessarily do one or the other. You're probably going to do a multiplicity of things, and you're not going to know beforehand, am I doing a science fair or am I doing a Sumo bot? You're going to wait to the about 2 o'clock time frame to figure out which one you're going to do, and then base it off of that. If you have quadcopters like this, or if you're bringing quadcopters and playing with them, or you know someone else is, one of the things I suggest is picking up a hula hoop. There are amazing things you can do with these things with hula hoops. So just as a fun sort of thing, have a hula hoop. You can fly them through. You can have them drop stuff. There's all sorts of fun things. There's a 3D model for these, actually, that creates a hook. So you can do a challenge where they have to pick stuff up, fly it over, and then drop it off. Just as that. I mean, that's kind of what we do in after hours. So that's the end. And in the closing, you want to like wrap it up and say thank you, everyone. I hope you all had a great time, and we'll see you hopefully next year. Do something a little bit more elegant than that. That was just me off the cuff. You'll probably want to just thank the venue, thank if you have sponsors, thank special people, and go from there. So the final other piece is we're not going to try to accomplish a international Hangouts channel this year, because the years we've done it before, it doesn't work. Having people all over the place connect up to Hangouts, what it does is it ends up sucking the bandwidth that other people need. Undoubtedly, someone's going to be trying to download Visual Studio during that moment or something. So instead of us all sounding like robots and dithering all across the world, what we're going to do is we're going to have the Gitter chat that's up already for all the attendees. We're going to have the Slack channel for the organizers. Not to necessarily partition them in angst, but just to allow you all a back channel to myself and whomever else I gather to be available. To have direct channels for like, this happened, I don't know how to handle this, or I've given up on getting it to work on Windows. That's the target for the Slack channel the day of. The Gitter channel is more for, and you should encourage people to go into it, to create a communication channel throughout the entire day and have everyone chatting and talking and discussing inside of there. I think it's just gitter.im/nodebots/nodebotsday. Oh, I probably should have put that in HTTP. And then Gitter, I think, is IRC accessible as well, so if somebody is using IRC, they can do that. I'm not 100% certain about that statement. But the good thing is it's web accessible, so anyone who has a web browser, which should be anyone who's showing up, they'll be able to join in and chat with the rest of the world. So, any questions at this point?
Does Gitter require a GitHub account for talking?
It does require a GitHub account for talking.
Okay.
That may be an issue.
If I do a Nodebots Day event that's like 2 months after International Nodebots Day, can I still call it Nodebots Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll actually be out of the country for the official day, so I'm going to postpone it by at least a few weeks, but we'll see when we can get it done.
That's perfectly fine. I don't think that's a good question, but I don't think there should be a. I'm going to assert for this year. I don't care. Other years, that's perfectly chill.
Are there T-shirts? Do I need to get T-shirt sizes from people?
So that's a good question. Maybe. What has gone on historically, since everyone's sort of like a self-autonomized group, if you want to have T-shirts, you're more than welcome to make T-shirts. One of the groups from Wednesday, I forgot which regionality, is doing T-shirts for their attendees. They put the designs out into the repo, so if you want, you can print shirts. They were not offering to print them for everybody. They're just going to print them for their local group. It's one of those that, because we just aren't going to go for everybody. I haven't spoken with Rick yet, but Boku tried to send shirts out last year. Some of them got there. Some of them got there late. Some of them didn't get there. I don't know if they have the time and energy to do the logistics to get it all out again. But yeah, that's kind of that. So you're more than empowered and welcome to do your own shirts for your own team. If you need any assistance with that or any pointers, I've printed enough shirts in my life. I could probably just do it in my sleep. So happy to help connect up to the resources that I've used and that sort of thing. But
what about tips for stickers?
Tips for stickers.
Like, as in, where is the best place to get them printed?
Best place? That's a good question. So I use Sticker Giant and Sticker Mule somewhat interchangeably. They've done a great job. Sticker Giant puts candy in the boxes, so that's a plus. Simple things for me. That's all it is. Sticker Giant, I think, is cheaper by, like, on average. Sticker Mule has sales that drops it below, so just go to either one. With the Nodebot sticker, I would suggest just use this square one because it'll fit into one of the pre-cut things, and you'll save a ton of cash. I feel like a Geico commercial now. You'll save a ton of cash by just using the square ones and fit it into, I believe it's the 2-inch size works best. Don't go 3 inch. It takes up a whole laptop at that point. And then 1 inch is 1 inch by 1 inch is a little bit too small. That of course translates to some number of centimeters, millimeters, half meters in international, but I'm not sure of those. And I don't have any international sticker tips. I can actually ping Jan or Holger about that because I know in Europe but that's only Europe. So if you know where to get stickers in your local region and it applies for the continent or possibly country that you're from, then please put that in the Slack room so that way other members can take advantage of that.
Is the Nodebots sticker like SVG file available somewhere?
Yeah, it's somewhere. Isn't it in? Should be.
Thought I saw it in the
Not
repo.
look. I mean, maybe obvious.
If it's not, we will make it so.
Action item.
Yeah, at a minimum, I believe it's in the Nodebots.io piece. If not in the organizers, it doesn't look like it's in the organizers. We'll find it. No. I'm gonna go find it right now. There it is. I knew it was in here. There we go. And that gives you PNGs, SVGs, ABCs, and everything you want. The Inkscape file, everything. Any other questions?
I've been actually talking to a lot of possible sponsors. So they all require like this kind of letter to spec out what like the sponsorship options could be. Do you have anything like that, like a template?
I can send you a template. I don't have one up right now, but what I'll do is I'll make a generic one that is truly like a template that for whatever group it is, you can just slot in the name and who to make the check to and how to do that, and then set your price points appropriate to that. Generally speaking, a lot of you're going to want to go through that template and add or remove things based off of your specific event. As Katie mentioned, if you're doing shirts, great opportunity there. Sponsors love being on shirts for some reason. If you've been to a JSConf, you know I hate it, and that's why there's never been a sponsor on a JSConf shirt. I just think that the shirt should be a shirt, but it is an option, so you could do that. If you're doing these kits, cool thing that you can do, and I'd put this at like the premium level. You can actually get die-cut stickers, the exact dimensions of this, and we did it on the front. We did it with Bloomberg, so it looked like Bloomberg had made these kits, and you just put it on and rock, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, a Bloomberg! Oh, it's an ARDX kit! Woo!" That's one of the greatest possible easy sponsorships. Huge amount of return on investment for them because it's everybody's hand who gets one of these gets it, and with all the pre-orders, if you do pre-orders, it's like a matrix. If you're doing this, and you can do this type thing. So the other options would be if they're sponsoring the venue, you let them get up and talk a good bit. If they're sponsoring pizza or food or buffalo wings or I don't know, food, they can speak at lunch or kick off lunch or be the ones who announce lunch. There's great ways to connect up the dollars in with that. At a minimum, I would, as a person who runs events, request that at the end of the event, if not at the beginning of the event, if not both, take 5 minutes and just, if you have sponsors who've given you money, even those occasional ones who've been a pain, go through and list all of them and say thank you, huge appreciation. I'd like everyone to give a round of applause. That gives a huge amount of right out of the gate return. And then the other option is to just, hey, on the website that we have, you'll get your name and your logo. Sponsors love that.
Hey, so you mentioned food. What are some best tips for handling that?
Good question. So best tips if you're on a budget. So let's say you're doing an event and you don't want to charge. You want to try to get the most amount of people interested. You don't want to charge because you think that for your area, charging might be a barrier. What I've seen work very well is if you get a venue near, and you have food trucks near food trucks or near a venue spaces that have a lot of affordable food options and less than affordable food options. That works very well. Essentially, pick a venue that has a variety of food options nearby and just do a 1 hour break. Everybody sort of just walk away for a bit, go get food. You're going to want to encourage people to take that break, because what will by default happen is they'll be like, hey, I want to stay and work. And by about 3 o'clock, they're going to hit a blood sugar point where they'll turn into zombies or just get really hangry. So you want to encourage them to be cognizant of that and say, hey, go get food. I know you're really interested in this bot, but the soldering iron's going to be here. The thing you're working on is going to be here. So let's just close the laptop and go get food. It also affords people to connect one-on-one, talk about their projects, maybe talk to you. I'm not sure why this isn't working will be a common question you'll hear during lunch that you may not hear in the room. It allows them to get one-on-one time and split you away from a crowd and that sort of thing. So use that time wisely. Other options would be stuff that are delivered. Depending upon your area, a Grubhub or I can't even keep track of the .com for delivery stuff. Just pick something and have it delivered. What we've done before in the Northern Virginia one is we've said, we're going to order from here, check off what you want, I'll put it in, give me the money that you have for it, and we'll just do one bulk order and it all just gets delivered at once. That's a lot better. The other is to just do like meetups do and force it down people's throats of, I don't care what you need or want, here's what we have. It's up to you. If you're going to do the force down the throat, please, I would appreciate it if you just do a quick survey and say, does anyone have any special food requirements, that whether it's dietary restrictions, preferences, strong preferences, not just, I don't really like cheese for today, but, just gather some rough information, some gestalt information. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to order like sides of cow and have that as your only option and find out half the people are vegetarian or anyone's vegetarian there, and just there's no need to worry about those things. Just ask. Just, is there anybody? And you can even ask that on your registration form. It's a great way to get that sort of information.
A cheap and possibly cliched option is if you live in a place where there's Little Caesars Pizza, they're probably at the absolute cheapest because it's just $5 for a large pizza. And you just call them like an hour ahead of time and say, I want 20 pizzas, and go and pick it up. Of course, you'll have to find other options for people that don't like gluten or dairy products, but at least like for the bulk of people, you just order a bunch of cheese and pepperoni pizzas for like nothing. They might be sick of pizzas though, if they go to a lot of meetup events and stuff.
Yep. Another option that I found to be cost effective, as it were, go out to, everyone's going to have their own local grocery, but whatever your local grocery is, for me it's Harris Teeter, and just go buy a set of supplies, sandwich supplies, and then let people make their own sandwiches. That way if somebody is gluten intolerant or gluten free, they can just eat the meat, not have to have the cheese. If they're vegetarian, they'll make their own vegetarian meal. The thing you have to worry about with that, and just please understand, nothing's just easy. The thing you have to worry about that is you don't want to leave mayonnaise out for forever. People avoid things that would cause food poisoning. You're not going to be under some sort of regulation, so that's a thing, but it's another option. It's pretty cost effective to run out and go get like 3 loaves of bread and a couple packages of meat and a couple packages of cheese and a couple packages of condiments and let people make their own. Any other questions?
Just have a comment, or I guess a suggestion. We did this last year, and it's kind of a good way of running your event lean, which is Tito supports those different ticket levels. So you can of course have like a BYO hardware ticket level for like $10 or whatever, just to cover lunch, and then just have the different kits offered up, like in the RDX kit, and just sell the ticket at cost of the kit, so people can just buy their own kit, take it home, no problem. And then if you have limited sponsorship money, you can just take that and apply it to maybe people that really want to go but can't afford a ticket, or just kind of offer maybe diversity scholarships for certain individuals of your choosing. And that way you don't have to run like a lot of out of pocket or get an enormous amount of sponsorship money for people that can afford to get their own kits and just want to have their own stuff.
If somebody sponsors diversity ticket or scholarships, how do y'all handle, who gets those? Is there like an application, why they want to be there? I mean, how does that handle?
Yeah, you can either put up like an application page for people to apply, and you can evaluate them with maybe your co-planners, or if you ask somebody specifically sponsored diversity tickets, you can offer them the chance to select, or you can just reach out to select people in your community who would benefit from going to something like this, who might not necessarily ordinarily go. Or yeah, just tweet it out. That I've seen a lot of conferences tweet out about diversity tickets and scholarships and things like that. So it might be worth doing.
Any other questions? We have run out of time. If you do have questions, use the Slack channel. If you're not in the Slack room, let's fix that ASAP. Please use that as a resource to get access to pretty much any of us, myself included. Like I said, the goal for this is for you to be autonomous and make your own decisions about how it is, but I don't want anyone to feel lost. I don't want anyone to feel isolated as we move forward in this. If you have questions, if you have panic moments, please don't hesitate to reach out. Panic moments are common when you're doing events for humans. It's a thing that I still run into 7 years running JSConf pretty much on a daily basis. So don't feel like you're doing it wrong. The only way to do it wrong would be to have never tried, and you're already past that step. So hooray! You're doing great. So if there's anything we can do, I can do, anyone else here can do to help out, please just reach out. If you don't feel comfortable reaching out in a public forum, reach out directly to me or whomever, and then just chat. We're here for you. So
Thank you.
with that, bye everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Nodebot on.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.